is Top Accolade Global News Updates. I am Soibifa Jakarich. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Thursday called on China to provide a level playing field for American businesses as he began a visit aimed at resolving a raft of contentious issues that could jeopardize the newly repaired relationship. Blinken's trip is the latest high-level contact between the two nations that, along with working groups on issues from global trade to military communication, have tempered the public acrimony that relations to historic lows early last year. Both Washington and Beijing have been increasingly at odds over how American companies operate in China. Chinese export and manufacturing capacity and strains are also growing over Beijing's backing of Russia in its war in Ukraine. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said that at a meeting with China's top official in Shanghai, Cheng Ching-ing, Blinken raised concerns about China's trade policies and non-market economics practices. Blinken also stressed that the United States seeks a healthy economic competition with the PRC and a level playing field for U.S. workers and firms operating in China. The PRC, or People's Republic of China, is the country's official name. China has dismissed as groundless criticism that its manufacturing capacity is excessive, adding that its industries, ranging from electric vehicles to solar panels, are competitive and innovative. Chen said through translators that the recent call between the leaders of both countries had helped the stable and healthy development of our two countries' relationship, adding, whether we choose cooperation or confrontation affects the well-being of both peoples, both countries, and the future of humanity. The U.S. Supreme Court on Thursday confronts a major test of the power of the presidency in argument over Donald Trump's bid for immunity from prosecution for efforts to overturn his 2020 election defeats. The justices at 10 a.m. will hear Trump's appeal after lower courts rejected his request to be shielded from 4 election-related criminal charges on the grounds that he was serving as president when he took that action that led to the indictment obtained by special counsel Jack Smith. Trump, the Republican candidate challenging Democratic presidential Joe Biden in the November 5th election, is the first former U.S. president to be criminally prosecuted. Trump has pleaded not guilty in this case and in 3 other criminal cases he faces, including an ongoing trial on New York State charges related to hush money paid to a porn star shortly before the 2016 U.S. election that put him in the White House. Trump will not be attending the Supreme Court arguments because he will be in Manhattan courtroom in that case. The Supreme Court's 6-3 conservative majority includes 3 justices who Trump appointed: Amy Coney Barrett, Brett Kavanaugh, and Neil Gorsuch. The court already this year has handed Trump one major victory as he runs to regain the presidency. On March 4th, it overturned a judicial decision that had excluded him from Colorado's ballot under a constitutional provision including insurrection for inciting and supporting the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol by his supporters, not since its landmark Bush v. Gore decision, which handed the disputed 2000 U.S. election to Republican George W. Bush over Democrat A.I. Gore, as the court played such an integral role in the presidential race. Trump took numerous steps to try to reverse his 2020 loss to Biden. His false claims of widespread voting fraud helped inspire the attack on the Capitol on the day Congress met to certify Biden's victory. Trump and his allies also devised a plan to use false electors from key states to thwart certification. The August 2023 indictment described Trump as determined to remain in power despite his election loss. Trump was charged with conspiring to defraud the United States, corruptly obstructing an official proceeding, and conspiring against the right of Americans to vote. Britain's opposition Labour Party said it planned to renationalise the country's rail network within 5 years without paying compensation to private operators as it set out its plan to fix the troubled railway system. Labour wants to set up a publicly owned Great British Railways, which will inherit passenger rail contracts currently held by private firms as they expire, a process it expects to be completed within its first term in office. The party leads the governing Conservative Party party by around 20 percentage points in opinion polls, with a national election expected later this year. Labour will deliver the biggest overhaul to our railways in a generation, Labour Transport Policy Chief Louis Haig said ahead of a speech on Thursday setting out the plans. Britain's train services were privatised in the 1990s, but several operators have been renationalised in recent years, some of them losing their franchises after underperforming. Nearly 70% of voters support bringing train operators back into public ownership permanently. A poll conducted this month by polling firm YouGov showed fewer than 10% opposed it. The current government of Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has also proposed establishing a new Great British Railways (GBR) company, but with a different role. The government's proposals would group responsibility for rail infrastructure and services under GPR while maintaining a franchise system, giving it the role of contracting out passenger services to private firms. The government has highlighted the need for private sector involvement to boost efficiency in the network after the coronavirus pandemic reduced commuting by passengers. Latest statistics show that cancellation in the last 3 months of 2023 were at their highest level since records began in 2018. Although industrial action by staff was a factor behind some of the problems, Labour said the increases in cancellations and rail fares showed the current system with 4 rail operators already managed by the government had failed. China is providing moorage for a US-sanctioned Russian cargo ship implicated in North Korean arms transferred to Russia, according to satellite images obtained. A US concerns grow over Belgium's support for Moscow's war in Ukraine. Britain's Royal United Services Institute (RUSI) think tank said the Russian vessel Angara, which since August 2023 has moved to Russian ports thousands of containers believed to contain North Korean munitions, has been anchored at a Chinese shipyard in eastern Zhejiang province since February. The ship's presence at the Chinese port underscores the challenges facing the United States and its allies as they try to choke off military and economic support for Russia. With Ukraine under a renewed Russian assault and running short of ammunition, US officials have issued increasingly stark warnings about what they say is China's help rebuilding Russia's military after its early setbacks in the Ukraine war. The support is expected to top the agenda this week as Secretary of State Antony Blinken visits Belgium. The State Department's second-ranked diplomat, Kurt Campbell, said this month that Washington would not sit by if Belgium increased its backing for Moscow. A spokesperson for the US State Department said it was aware of credible, open-source reports that the Angara is currently moored in a Chinese port and had raised the issue with Chinese authorities. Satellite images RUSI obtained in recent months from companies including San Francisco-based imaging from Planet Labs (PBC) showed that Angara docked at Zhoushan Zia shipyard in Zhejiang, which on its website says it is China's largest private ship repair company. The ship was identified by a unique automatic identification system (AIS) transponder that had been briefly turned on, likely for safety reasons, while navigating a busy stretch of the Korea Strait en route to China. Australian police said on Thursday they charged 5 teenagers with terrorism-related offences in investigation following the stabbing of Australian Christian bishop while he was giving a live-stream sermon earlier this month. The 5 boys, who were due in children's court on Thursday, were arrested on Wednesday in the Sydney region. Police said they were associates of a 16-year-old boy previously charged in the knifing of Bishop Mary Emmanuel, who was injured in the attack on April 15th at his church. The latest charges include possessing violent extremist material, conspiring to prepare for a terrorist attack, and carrying a knife in public, New South Wales police said. The bearded Emmanuel, bishop at the Christ the Good Shepherd Church in the Sydney suburb of Wakefield, is a social media star with followers around the world and a fiery critic of homosexuality, COVID, vaccinations, Islam, and US President Joe Biden's election. The Syrian Church, which has its world headquarters in Iraq, is a Christian sect with its historical origin in parts of modern Turkey, Syria, and Iran. The attack on Emmanuel came only days after a deadly mass stabbing in Bondi. Gun and knife crime is rare in Sydney, one of the world's safest big cities. That is the size of top accolade global news updates. You can follow us on our social media platforms as displayed on your screen. Happy Thursday.